All right, I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Someone we haven't had before on the show. Welcome, Dr. Naydeen Gonzalez-De Jesus. You are a senior executive at a community college in Texas. And you've just had such a fascinating take on what's going on. It's something we talk about here in respect of California, particularly with the changes politically and the Latino vote. We just saw that very much in the elections just gone. But you've got a really interesting take on that. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you think about what's going on in our politics right now.
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, I want to say thank you so much for inviting me. I'm super excited to be here with you. I would have to say, first, it's important to note that whatever I'm going to say, it's not an all-inclusive of the Hispanic voice, right? I come from an independent point of view, right at the center, or so. And then also, I want to say that someone that came from Puerto Rico at the age of 14, I think it's important to note that although Puerto Rico is a commonwealth of the U.S., we also face a lot of the issues that some immigrants from other parts of the world may have to face, such as, for example, we have to learn English from the ground up. We have to understand that there are other norms in terms of the lifestyle and ways in which we must interact with one another. So I wanted to point that out right there and then. Also, it's important to note that as a Puerto Rican, I support the administration that is coming in into DC this coming year. Why is that? I would have to say that it is first and foremost because under the Trump administration, what I believe we are going to receive is the idea that the United States would come first, right? The United States would come first. And I believe that that is the reason why a lot of Hispanics may have voted for the Trump administration once again. The idea that America will not just be first, but we will begin to be respected across the world. Right now, for example, I have a lot of friends that either I've either worked with or I am associated with, and many of them are from across the border, right? And having said that, they too feel when I speak with them outside our offices, of course. One of the things that they have told me is, I waited a long time to get here. I waited a long time to enter the United States of
Yes.
America, right? So if they waited so long, how come we're opening the borders and allowing everyone else to come through without having to go through the processes that we already have in place? So that's first and foremost. We have our systems, we have our processes in place, and now you might tell me, but how about those that are, for example, here seeking asylum? Well, there is a process for asylum, right? You come through the port of entry. And by coming through the port of entry, you then apply for asylum, right? There is a process, and skipping the process, it is a disadvantage for those of us who are already here, for the citizens and the residents of the United States who are doing it the legal way, the right way. And it's also a disadvantage for individuals who have been here for a long time. They are born, they're born citizens of the United States. We all pay our taxes, right? So by paying our taxes, by looking out for our economy, our education, our systems, we are the ones affording the US economy and allowing for the economy to continue to run the way it has. So that's one of the issues as to why I believe a lot of Hispanics may have voted for the Trump administration.
So can I ask you just a question on that? So you've made a very strong case there for the fairness argument, which I totally get. And there's another layer that is used in the current conversation to account for this really remarkable shift in voting patterns. It's really since Trump has been the leader of the Republican Party going right back to 2016. Another argument is made is that again, forgive me, like in California, typically people say Latino. You say in Texas, Hispanic. I've noticed that people say that it's a different terminology. So that's what we're used to saying here. But, regardless of the term used, that community is very much, is pretty, you hear this all the time. Well, they're pretty conservative, right? Pretty conservative in their attitudes, both in terms of family and faith and also on economic questions. And that's part of the story as well. So my question is, if all of that is true, why were Hispanics, Latinos, whatever term you want to use, ever such big supporters of the Democratic Party?
That's an excellent question, Steve. To be honest with you, I do not know. I would have to say for the Democrats out there that are planning to run after these 4 years are over, um, they're going to have to think very clearly about what it is that they stand for. You cannot go all the way to the left and forget about the familia, our values. Our conservative values are so important to many of us, Latinos, Hispanics, Latinx, however you want to call it.
Not
Many of
that,
us,
by the way. I think I think the one thing we can say is it's not that word.
okay, thank you so much. Yes. Okay, so as Hispanics, I'll be honest with you, many of us are about the familia. It's important for us to have the unity of the family, our household, right? And one thing that I want to point out is anytime you run a campaign that is based on artists in Hollywood and just these big names, right? It has nothing to do with our households. It has nothing to do with how are you going to help us put food on our table? How are you relating to us as Latinos to help us understand that you're not just about the voice of the extreme left, but that you are able to listen to us and to have a conversation with us, to truly connect with us. And by the way, I don't mean it by adopting an accent that might make you sound Hispanic, as we saw, right? Or adopting an accent that might make you sound as if you are from, I don't know, you name it. You need to come across authentic. And I think that that is one of the issues that it turned off a lot of people, not just Hispanics, but overall, the lack of authenticity across the board throughout the campaign. And also the inability for the vice president to detach herself from the Biden administration. For
Well, that was
example,
ridiculous.
when she
Exactly.
was asked, for example, is there anything that you would do differently? She didn't specifically say anything, right? Different. She said, I wouldn't change a thing. I think, I was there, we made the decisions, and I wouldn't change a thing. That to me would have been an excellent point or an excellent way for her to diplomatically respect her boss and say, in hindsight, now that we know what we know, what I would do differently is XYZ, right? And again, spell those things out. But to this day, I still don't know what the policies of that
Well, she has
individual
no
were.
idea. She has no
Well,
idea.
well,
Um,
wait a
no,
second. I do know though one policy, and that is the extreme left of identity politics. It's got to stop. It's got to stop.
totally. Well, that's what
We
they're all
don't
about.
vote. Absolutely. We don't vote because you are either black, white, Hispanic. We're voting based on the policies.
And that's what I think is so important. Of course, when you talk about elections and these demographic groups, you talk about these categories. But in the end, I think what's attractive about the Republican way of seeing the world, certainly how I see the world, is that actually in the end, it does. Yes, we can talk about it in this way or that way, but in the end, we believe we're all Americans and we have the same approach, which is we want the opportunities that come with it. I'm an immigrant. I feel the same way. It took me a long time. It was annoying. I hate bureaucracy, so you just got to do it the right way. Last question for you. I want to throw it forward. And of course, we don't know exactly how it's going to go down, but I want to put to you the extreme version of the fears that have been, the fear mongering, I should say, that's really going on about what's going to be coming from the incoming Trump administration, and Tom Homan, the who's going to be in charge over all of the border policy and enforcing that, mass deportations, right? That's the term that's been used by both sides. No one's disputing that term. What do you think that will? I mean, just talk about that in terms of what you would like to see. What do you think? I mean, I suppose here's the question: do you think one of the points that was made in the election was usually by rich white people and leftist commentators, like how are all these Latinos supporting mass deportation? You see it in the polling. Do you think that will continue to be the case when it's reality rather than just a promise?
I think what I would like to see, and again, it's not just me, but a lot of my colleagues and friends and folks that I've spoken with, we would like to see anyone who came under the DACA umbrella to continue to still be here, right? But they've been here since the age of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, these were kids when they arrived, right? Now they have households, they own homes, they're paying their taxes, they have jobs, they're going to college, they are part of the economy of the USA, right? They came here not because of their own choice, but because their parents brought them here. So I think that when we talk about immigration, we need to address that.
What you've laid out there is very much in line with what I've heard Tom Homan say about how they're going to approach it. So we'll see. It's great to have you with us. I hope we can talk again soon. I really, really appreciate your perspective. See you soon.
Thank you, Steve.